Let's be honest, you've probably spent hours in a game like Grand Theft Auto 5 or something very different like No Man's Sky, just messing around, driving your cars off cliffs, building weird bases on weird pink planets, and you know what, it's very fun for a while. But then you stop, you look at this huge world full of possibilities and think, what do I do now? The game actually gives you everything, a million toys, and now yet you feel bored. And there's a reason, a hidden flaw in almost every single sandbox game ever. Well, at least many of them. They give you a playground, but they don't give you a real game inside that playground. They give you tools and no problem that you can actually solve with these tools. And in the end of this video, I will show you one type of sandbox that I saw which solved all these issues in a very clever way. It uses a single brutal rule that turns the entire world into a puzzle instead. And once you see that, you will know why some of your favorite open worlds might feel just a little bit broken. Now, before we start, I just wanted to give you a short heads up about my upcoming game 3876 AD Corruption. If you're not interested in that, just skip ahead, it's not that important. But for all the others, my Steam Early Access version is actually coming out pretty soon, in 3 weeks, and Steam already complained in an email about that I should probably upload my first build by now. So that's going to happen on Sunday, and on Monday I will give you guys a sneak peek into this early version of the game and kind of show you the roadmap of upcoming post-release content and updates. If you are interested in all of that, you can hit me up on Discord, the link for that is in the description below. But now, without further ado, let's continue with the video. Imagine this, you have a city full of cars, guns, and you can cause chaos. You can't do anything. So, why does it feel like there's nothing to do? Obviously I'm talking about GTA 5 in particular, because that's the one I have most in my memory. So Los Santos is incredible, the cars, the guns, well, the chaos. It's a masterpiece of a playground. Why does it feel hollow after the story? Because after the story I just couldn't play the game anymore. The reason it's static, it's a static diorama. Your actions don't change the world, you cause chaos, yes, but the cops come, you escape or die, and then the world just kind of resets. Well, it's a sandbox, that's the idea I guess, but it's a closed loop. The fun is finite because the interactions are kind of shallow. So my analysis would be that this is a toy box, and it provides activities but it doesn't provide systems. Driving is fun, shooting is fun, but they don't really connect to a challenge, to a greater challenge. Yeah, you can shoot out of the cars, but that doesn't really change anything. The world is a backdrop, and the question is what is better? And I think we had something like that in GTA San Andreas with the gang turf wars. The thing is, the world kind of needs a state machine. Your actions should change the conditions of the world. If you cause too much chaos in one district, maybe police presence permanently increases, or maybe even citizens become hostile. And that's what I'm alluding to with the San Andreas example of the turf wars. It's changing the problems you face. And the toy box kind of needs to remember what you did for this to work. I'm gonna tell you right now, giving the world a memory is just the first step. Because you can add chores and systems, immersion, but still, in the end, why does it all feel just like a job? So, what comes to mind is Red Dead Redemption, of course, 1 and 2, both of them very, very great games, but it is kind of the pinnacle of this. It gives you a world so realistic, especially 2. You could live in it, but you can't. So you kind of should care for your horse, clean your weapon, cook your food, but you don't actually do that. And the game forces you into sequences which do just feel like chores. That's why I have trouble playing or kind of restarting the second game, because the beginning is just such a slog. These systems exist to simulate, not for gameplay. And the simulation is fun for the first time, but not for the second and for the third time. And you're not really encouraged to do anything on your own. It's always inside the story. You have to do it. They're about maintaining realism, not about like surviving a crisis or something like that. You're managing your existence and you're not really facing any kind of dynamic challenge because it's the same every time. The problem is a lack of independence, I guess. Cleaning your gun is a task you do because the game says you should, but it has no effect. It doesn't become critical because, say, a sudden rainstorm increases weapon degradation while you're being hunted. That doesn't happen. And I mean, obviously, let's not talk about weapon like jams and all that stuff. It would be so complicated, of course. Anyways, these systems are still kind of isolated. They simulate life, but they don't create gameplay problems. And the question is, what is better? And I think what could work here is make all these things actually matter a bit more. So I have only seen this from the sidelines, but I saw kind of what Death Stranding is. And I saw how the movement kind of is tricky, so you can kind of tumble over and all that stuff. And I think that's a very interesting idea, and you can see this influence this other idea of kind of why you should maintain your gun, why you should maintain your horse. Well, because the horse is going to tumble over much more often if you don't care for it correctly. And the gun we can kind of treat like Far Cry 2, where if you don't kind of clean it and do whatever, it just kind of jams all the time. Obviously now we are talking about very immersive games, games that try to sell you a real world. We can flip that on its head and think about something else, because this is about sandboxes anyways, so let's forget realism for now. Let's give the player some insane powers, because we had that in the last video, so let them be a god. And then the question comes, why does unlimited power actually get boring then? And since I said we are going to throw realism out of the window, I am specifically talking about Just Cause. I mean 1 and 4, these are the two that I played, and I think they give you the most fun toys imaginable. A grapple hook that lets you theater anything, a wingsuit, and massive explosions obviously. So why does this unlimited power feel boring very fast? I thought the second game was a little bit more interesting than the fourth game, but they are kind of similar in some sense. So the answer is because the tools are too universal and too powerful. They solve every problem and they solve it in the same way. The grapple hook does answer movement, but also combat and traversal, and I rarely see myself kind of needing a car unless the quest requires it. So the world has no friction and no problem you can actually solve with all those rockets that you have in your inventory. And the sandbox therefore has no texture. It's a smooth surface for your godlike abilities to just skate over. So maybe it should work more like a skateboarding game, where your limitations are actually much more contextual. The grapple hook shouldn't work on reinforced concrete. The wingsuit should fail in thunderstorm. Explosions should trigger chain reactions and then you have to survive this explosion. The world needs properties that resist your default god mode solution. It needs to force you to adapt, not just use your toys to solve every problem. I think this issue exists in every scale. So let's go a little bit bigger. Let's go infinite planets, infinite possibilities. That's what definitely will work, obviously. Why does infinity feel repetitive and pointless? Well, let's look at No Man's Sky. It's a universe, infinite planets to explore, each with its own flora, fauna, geology. You have ships, multiple, different weapon, kind of multi-tool things, base building. So why does this infinity just feel empty? And it's actually because the game just prioritizes scale over meaning. And this hasn't changed to this date. So the tools exist to manage the scale, not to actually solve problems. Your ship solves, how do I get there? Your multi-tool solves, how do I mine this? And your base just solves, how do I store any of this? There just answers to logistical questions, not answers to compelling, like, unique gameplay questions. Procedural generation creates variation and new colors, new creatures, even if they look weird, but it doesn't create new puzzles. Every planet presents the same basic problem: gather, survive, move on. There's really no challenge. It's a grind, and the community kind of embraces the grind, whatever. Is there a better way? This is actually the perfect moment to go back to the beginning, where I talked about this brutal rule that one specific game does, and we are talking about Teardown. It's a game where you are doing heists and the whole world is kind of destructible. And I gotta be honest, I haven't played this game. I just saw kind of speedruns and like playthroughs of this. It seems to be a pure physics sandbox and it looks very fun. And it seems that the fun is infinite because the solutions are kind of emergent. So you're not just playing with a predefined tool, instead you're discovering many tools in the map that you can use, and this goes from kind of power tools to weapons, and then also using the different vehicles from cars, sports cars, to also excavators and stuff like that. The design of the sandbox is just kind of universal. It's a systemic rule that is physics, and it creates an inherent emergent problem for every heist you are trying to do. And that's also why I'm kind of looking at games like Empyrean. I haven't played that yet. I have that in my library. I'm gonna play that someday. I don't know when. Don't really have time to play games at the moment. But yeah, it kind of sells this idea of having also some kind of destructibility in the world that's physics-based. I'm not sure about that. I have to look at the game. You know what? These are my thoughts about sandbox games. I hope you enjoyed the video. I think that's enough. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel right now so you won't miss out next time. Like and share the video and tell me in the comments below what you think about sandbox designs, and maybe you know a game that does everything right. I would be very curious in hearing about it. Anyways, please check out my game on Steam. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!